Good afternoon. Welcome to SHOWstudio. We are in the middle of Milan Fashion Week and we're going to talk about Jil Sander. So first of all, I would like my panel of experts to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Dino Bonacic and I'm currently creative director of my own Instagram profile.
That's fantastic.
I'm Finn Mactaggart. I don't have an Instagram, but I'm making a documentary on the fashion designer Shane Oliver.
It's too cool for school.
Clearly.
For Instagram.
I'm Rhea Dillon. I'm a student, casting director and photographer.
And I'm Andre Davis, stylist.
Very shy panel today. Okay, so Jil Sander is one of the shows that is, quite wanted right now in Milan, meaning that people are going to be very curious about it because, as we all know, the brand went through a few changes recently.
A few.
I have the whole history here that goes back to '68 when Jil founded it, but what matters is that she was the founder and then Prada bought it and then they fought, so she left in 2000 and then she came back in 2003 and then she left again for good. And then Raf Simons came and then the brand was sold and Raf Simons was thanked and so she came back and then she left again, probably this time for good. So, I have years and lists here which are probably a little bit too long, but it's been mainly her, the defining Jil Sander, it's of course her and probably Raf Simons, who in 5 years brought it back to some glory. I think it was probably one of the best Jil Sanders times. You will tell me what you think in a second. But then it ended, and so ever since we're all waiting. So now the creative direction was given to Lucy and Luke Myers, a couple in life as well, a Canadian man and a Swiss woman. Hint, hint, hint. Lucy worked for many years with Marc Jacobs at Louis Vuitton and then went to work with Nicolas Ghesquière at Balenciaga and then went to work with Raf Simons at Dior. And when Raf left Dior with her partner in the studio as head of studio, Serge Ruffieux, they became an interim creative director. And I think they did a pretty good job, but that's another story. Her husband, Luke, is known as the creative director of Supreme for 9 or 10 years, 8 years. And then he left Supreme to found his own line called OAMC, which sounds like an acronym, but it doesn't mean anything except that depending on the shows, he gives a meaning to it, which goes from Oscar Alpha Mike Charlie to On a Midnight Clouded. So, it's just a little bit of a sound that he likes. Okay, so Luke likes to say that they like to make clothes that are real, clothes that can be worn, and clothes that don't grow old, which is a little bit what designers are starting to say today. We don't want trends to kill our collections, we want things to go on, etc., etc. And I just read the show notes that came in, and he's saying exactly this about his show. Like, I want this to live forever. We don't want it to be a trend. So, what do we expect? Whoa.
Jeans. I expect jeans. I think with Calvin Klein and Raf, I feel like it's going to be a collection of kind of staples, and I feel like it's going to it's just
Why did you say Calvin Klein?
I don't know, obviously because of Raf Simons and because of that minimal aesthetic that Calvin and Jil shared in their own times as creative directors. So I feel like I feel that in a way Raf is referencing that in his own work, that minimal, his own take on minimal. I feel like they're going to do the same with Jil, and I just think that they don't have much to lose, to be honest, because in the past few seasons, Jil Sander, even though some of the collections were quite interesting, I don't think it ever told kind of a story that went on for more than a season. And I feel like
there's no pressure with the past.
Exactly.
He always has something to lose.
Of course. I mean, of course, they can stay for like Brioni style. They can stay for one season and go. But, you know.
That was a record.
Exactly. But, you know, that can happen. But I feel like they're going to go for, as the show notes said, it's going to be white, navy, camel,
quite
black.
palette.
And kind of, I feel like it's going to be a collection of classics, probably oversized, tailoring.
So following trends.
Yeah.
Contrary to also,
This is the thing.
Also,
because,
that's
I
the thing,
mean,
because that comes from Jil. I mean, those are the things that I just said. It's all that classic Jil Sander moments where it's like a woman like in a power suit that's like slightly oversized. So it does have to do with like, you know, those classic brands as Vetements and Balenciaga. But at the end of the day, they took from Jil in her heyday. So I don't know. That's just what I think right now.
I mean, I think this is going to be an attempt at being a very trendy collection because this is basically the Louis Vuitton Supreme collaboration as a design team.
well, she comes from couture and high
Sure.
fashion, so
I'm being a
that's
little-
also interesting.
I'm
you
being
know?
a little-
Two different.
Sure, I'm being a little silly about it, but
Really?
I thought the same in the duality of it. I thought it was going to be like that. Then I saw Resort, so.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't said it yet because that's what interests me the most. The fact that they're a couple in life, so probably they have a lot of time to discuss what they want to do, but they come style-wise in the fashion they design from opposite sides of the spectrum, don't they?
But that's probably what Finn, I mean, sorry to like jump in, but that's probably what you mean when you say Supreme and Louis Vuitton, where it's like two completely opposite worlds that kind of collide and create something. So in a way, it's both literal and kind of metaphorical. Sorry that I'm interpreting your words.
no, I think that
instead of you,
in coming together like that, it erases completely what Supreme stood for as something that was opposed to Louis Vuitton, because in the very early days, it was about counterculture. It was about limited edition. It was very much about having a collective of people who were really invested in the brand. Now it's very much about dressing not real people or youth. It's actually about dressing cheesy celebrities. Supreme is about dressing very rich young people who come in from other countries. It's not a youth brand that stands opposed to Louis Vuitton anymore. And so I think his perspective will just simply be that. It will be, yeah.
What do you think, Ria?
No, I agree with that. I think as soon as that collaboration with Louis Vuitton happened, it's not that they're at opposite ends of the spectrum, it's that they're at the top of each, like two different worlds. So I don't think it's more like underground versus luxury. It's just, it's still luxury, your luxury of the streetwear realm and your luxury of the fashion realm. So, and also just, I don't know if everyone saw Resort. I thought it was going to be a great like mixture of, like we're just saying, streetwear and luxury. But then it just was very much just, you know, just luxury, just Jil Sander clean lines. And I was like, there must be a trainer in here somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like,
There must be
a trainer in here somewhere, and there wasn't. And I was a bit disappointed because I'm really excited. I'm a fan of Supreme and what they create and what they, as in, intentionally had in their mind of all these drops, all this newness every week. I think it's good. It keeps people on their toes. But yeah, I'm still excited to see what they're going to make. But the Resort kind of made me a bit like, meh.
Was the Resort design? I don't.
Yeah, it's their first collection, but this is their first runway.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to admit I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on what you're saying. Was it disappointing?
Simple. It was like, I
Yeah.
mean, it was kind of simple. It was a Resort collection of a fashion brand.
It was
you
great
know.
for a Jil Sander customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that
It
bought
looked like Jil Sander Navy.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looked like Jil
could
Sander Navy.
reintroduce it into their old wardrobe.
What do you expect?
Here you go, you've got
I
it.
think that the women's is going to be, her mother used to wear Jil Sander.
Say again,
Her
sorry?
mother used to wear Jil Sander, so the women's wear is inspired by her mother. I think the men's wear is white, quite clean, apparently. I just hope that, you know, they have a great chance here to make something really different other than, you know, a grey cashmere suit. And I think that the customer needs something interesting as well as all these fashion kids that want to buy it.
What's different today?
What's different?
Define different, when you say something different, because I have a little bit of a problem today with that, because people that try to be different, they're often pathetic, I think. So sometimes I think different is going back to what is unexpected. But define what you mean by
Yeah, well, I think
that.
proportions are different. Do you know what I mean? The way people play around with proportion. You know, we get set into a trend, and for a few years it can be a very similar silhouette. Like the 80s had a shoulder, and the 90s took away the shoulder. There were reductionists in the 90s. All the pockets came off everything. Everything was refined. So I think that there are things like that. But I think for them, the most important thing is trying to connect with someone, whether it's a journalist or a customer or shareholders.
Maybe a customer or shareholder assures your job more than a journalist. I see what you mean.
But I like the idea of not showing in the Jil Sander building, which is where everybody really showed. Milan showed there, Rafa showed there. And you know, that was Jill's home, do you know what I mean? So I think that it's great that they've taken themselves out of there.
But Raf decided to stay there, so...
Yeah.
So it was a different choice.
But I think even this looks quite exciting with the venue. So I think if they've thought so much about the venue, then God, there must be something interesting going to happen. Please.
Wishful thinking.
Do you think it looks exciting? Because I don't.
If you look up, I think that it's cut out so you see the sky. It's really beautiful.
It's what they say. They chose this venue because it's like human work in process mixing with nature. And so apparently it's something that it's been building.
Something to be there for.
Sorry, you said it's like a future art center, right? That it's being built and it's open so you can see the sky, which I guess it's the nature.
I feel like I can see the fonts of the seating areas are the Jil Sander fonts. So I feel like, you know, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I feel like maybe if they, like, you know, it is that font of their logo that they're using for the, you know, seating area. So I think maybe that's a reference that they will kind of go back to the classic.
Okay, but on this, let me ask you a question to all of you. So when someone takes over a brand that has been famous and has been created by someone who, by the way, is still alive, do you believe they have to do something completely different, just cut with the past and say, like, you know, like Phoebe Philo would do, this is Phoebe Philo, whatever it's called? Or is it not only respectful but correct to remind us of? I mean,
the opening line for a designer is always, "I'm respecting the codes of the house." Really, it's yours, that you know. Take some inspiration from the archive, dig through it, rip it off, remake it. You know, Raf did the bar jacket. It's like, but sometimes it's great for you to do something different.
I think rip it off is a good word, actually.
But there is a difference between what Demna does for Balenciaga, which is really his, but by looking in the archives, or what Phoebe has done for Celine.
Which is completely...
People don't even remember that Celine ever existed.
Yeah, but like I was saying, with the rip-off word, it's like you've just been allowed to go into these doors and rip off the design. Like everyone else gets accused of like, oh, you're copying Raf, you're doing this. But when you're in those doors of that brand and it wasn't yours, you're kind of allowed to. Yeah.
But also like a brand hits a wall sometimes. And I feel like Jil Sander kind of has hit a wall where it wasn't going anywhere. And I feel like if there is a time to... I'm not talking about the Gucci Renaissance. I'm talking about something more of a, you know, trying to look what Jil Sander was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and how do we produce that now? Whether it's, you know, then it was like empowering women in a way that not a lot of brands were. There weren't that many at the time female creative directors.
Prada and Jil Sander.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I was there.
Oh, well.
the two brands that were for women that were, you know, feminist and independent and engaged were Jil Sander and Prada. Jil Sander for me was always too big in size, even the smallest size I could never wear. Apart from the fact that I didn't have the money to afford either, but Prada was more my size. But anyway, German was huge. So it was really
I know, that's why I love it.
But I think at the time, that silhouette, that look on a woman was very unexpected and it was countercultural. Now I think you have to situate this.
Donna Karan as well was a little bit in that realm.
But in America, but when it comes to Europe,
she was one of the three, you know, strong women. You know,
and now I think you have to situate this kind of what is really a very commercial look at this point within the current times and say, is that still rebellious? Does that still make enough of a statement in the way that a Com woman, a Yoji woman, a Jil woman looked in the 80s?
That's exactly what I mean. Like it's a challenge now to find a way of how to.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So
It's also less necessary. I mean,
But it's a challenge
please don't
now
get
to
me wrong.
find.
It's
No, I
always
agree.
necessary.
I agree.
But it's different times. I mean, it's a different way, and also the world is much more genderless as far as fashion. So it's more difficult to be. Yeah, I mean, what Miuccia did yesterday or the day before, I don't even remember when it was very much going back to that. You know, it was an angry, engaged feminist woman, which I sort of loved because it reminded me of what Miuccia has been. But I wonder, is this relevant for you?
All this.
Does it resonate? Yeah.
Yeah, it resonates, but I think it is hard to keep doing exciting things right now, and that's where you get the best kinds of people because everyone is saying, like, am I excited by fashion right now? And most people are saying no, because we've seen it all before, or such and such.
But also the most
before.
exciting moments in fashion, like Jil Sander, Helmut Lang, Margiela, were destroyed by corporations who had very clear interests. I mean, the story of Jil leaving and returning is such a prime example. The fact that Jil Sander, as a brand, is tanking is clear. It shows us that commercialism in fashion, these takeovers that happen in order to kind of scrape money off of people's creative ideas, lands us in this kind of dead space culture.
But that said, Jil Sander was bought by Prada.
First.
And Bertelli, we were expecting would be, and she was happy because it wasn't a venture capitalist or a hedge fund manager with the only idea was to have an exit 3 years later with doubling his investment. He's someone who, you know, participates in fashion with one of the greatest creative directors of all time, his wife. But he's very strong personality, and probably Jill is as well. And so there was
Participated too much.
and probably, I think it was more of a clash of the titans.
Yeah,
than,
He did it.
than the money against the creativity.
He didn't just do it to Jil Sander, he did it to Helmut Lang as well.
Yeah.
And
to Helmut
really
Lang,
ruined what was a very fantastic and inspiring moment. And I think we need to learn lessons from that now about how we allow commercialism into fashion, how we're supporting people who exist outside of that system. I mean, for example, Shane Oliver's just done a collection, and this is obviously a passion project for me, but Shane Oliver's just done a collection for Helmut Lang, and to me, it was very strange that all the reviews about it were all about Isabella Burley. I even mentioned this to Tim Blanks on the plane as we went home. They were all about Isabella, which is very strange because you have so many houses like Versus or, you know, Brioni, I think was mentioned, where people are rotating. And
It's not the same. Versus, it's a strategy. Brioni was a
well,
mistake.
still, you know, there is
Still,
always in fashion.
Versus is quite close to
always
the
in
concept of
yeah, but always in
Helmut Lang.
fashion. Do we know if they're going to be there for longer than one season? Well, you don't actually know. And I think this was an
Unless they
excuse
own
that,
their own brand.
True.
Armani.
But this was an excuse used by people to kind of pass over Shane's work, and I think it's very important that we nurture a lot of new voices in fashion, like Shane's, and I don't see that happening because he is someone who exists very much outside of the commercial realm of fashion.
Yeah, but again, devil's advocate, it doesn't mean that that's what I think. But you know, when Shane does something for Andrew Rosen, I mean, Helmut Lang, big theory group, I don't know if he had to continue, he probably would have to bow to commerciality. I wonder, I mean, is that inevitable? Is there a solution? We had this discussion the other day again
exactly.
and again, and we can go on, but
I mean, I think it's sometimes, you know, it depends on what Jil Sander wants to be now, and to be honest, like whether it wants to become
I think they
one
want
of
to make
those.
money.
Yeah.
No, but
They
just wanna
need
make
to make
money.
money.
Okay, that's fine. But like whether they want to be, you know, I don't feel like every brand should be as big as Gucci is. And I think that's where everyone makes a
that's
mistake.
very far from
Exactly. I know, but I think that a lot of brands make that mistake where they want
Yeah.
that turnover that's like instant. They want to get all those like top products. Sometimes, you know, it's fine to have a business as, I know it's,
healthy
you know,
niche.
a healthy niche small business,
But this
whether
is
it's
the-
Marquez Almeida or whatever it is.
But this was bought by venture capital, by private equity, so
Yeah.
But also
that
the
it's not
designer.
the way they
I
think.
know, but
I can
But
assure
also
you.
Supreme made that mistake. This guy who's been creative
Luke,
directing,
or-
yes, for the past 8 years has presided over some of the most kind of commercial moments of Supreme and really ruined what it stood for culturally. So to me, I think even in the design...
It's probably the owner.
Of Supreme, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, he's been, I mean, you're talking about Jeff.
Jeff, exactly.
And Jeff's been there from
always
the
wanted
start.
to be under the radar,
Yeah.
and then suddenly, Supreme and Vuitton talk about under the radar. So maybe he needs some money as well. I don't know.
I mean, I need some money. Everyone needs some money. I think it's just a question of creative integrity, and
Well, what is creative integrity in
They
fashion?
held on to their creative integrity for so long, and I guess there's a time and a place where they're like, okay, now we need some money. I mean, it's upsetting for the fans, obviously, but you know, if you need to pay that rent, pay that rent.
I feel like it's not, that was never, I don't know. I feel like if we're talking about Supreme, I don't think that was ever an issue for them. I don't think Louis Vuitton collaboration was a matter of, okay, we're having like financial issues, let's do this collaboration. I think it was like a move towards changing their whole strategy in what they're doing.
Yeah,
and
what he
whether you
said
can
was-
agree with that or not, that's fine. But I think it wasn't like a financial decision. It was
But
like,
what he said, because I read the interview, Jeff, no, I don't remember his surname, but anyway, the owner,
Mr.
what he
Jeff.
says was, it was time to be known by a wider industry that knows about fashion, which for me translate, and I'm not judging, but translate, it was time to make more money.
yeah, definitely.
So that's the reality.
No, but it's not a wider fashion audience. It's actually just tacky celebrities and you know, princes and you know.
But no,
people
but
that-
we all
it's
read about
extraordinary
It's
amounts
more
of
money
wealth.
than buying printed jersey, I think. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what they were targeting. They were targeting that luxury.
Luxury, yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, but who is that luxury consumer? And I think we actually have to interrogate that.
It wasn't the consumer they were targeting. They were just targeting a new audience in a way. They were chasing money.
And then isn't the audience the consumer?
It's billions and billions and billions of turnover in the world, fashion. So it's not only tacky celebrity, it's many people that consume
It's not
luxury fashion.
it's not young people, and I think this is where the conversation gets confused. Is
Did you
these
see the
days
line? Did you
because
see the
something
queue
comes
outside
from.
Louis Vuitton in
feel like
Tokyo
you're
when they
being-
launched it?
Correct,
They
but you
didn't
know
look
what
like me.
happens?
They look like you.
No, what happens is there is a
Age-wise, I mean.
secondary.
I mean, age-wise, it was huge. I haven't seen a
But
queue
even the
like
London
this.
one, you could see there was like young people. So I would argue that I agree with what you mean. Like it's not their maybe target in
romantic.
terms of like, yeah.
There is a secondary market in Supreme, which is where these products end up. And that is where they go for an insanely inflated amount
Of course,
of money.
eBay.
Yeah, but not
Those
only.
people who are really the end users of that product are incredibly wealthy, and they are not the youth. Youth are very engaged at the moment with things like Depop, with eBay, all sorts of stuff where they're trading these garments around.
I think you're more idealistic than needed, because not than needed, than the reality, because there are many young people that think like you, and thank God, but that's not the reality. That's not the reality, especially
When
in
I look
China
in-
or in Japan.
No, because the queues were those young people who knew Supreme before, plus the now rich kids that have heard of it because of Louis Vuitton. I definitely agree there. It wasn't a difference in the queues, it was a difference in what they had in their pocket. Because there was still, like, my friends and people I knew who obviously were going there just because of Supreme. They weren't going there necessarily because of Louis Vuitton.
Oh, absolutely. No. But they still were going to buy their, you know,
If you look at the
favorite product that was marrying Louis Vuitton.
the latest YouTube videos of Supreme fanatics.
Oh, God love.
For example, there's this kid, I remember watching this video, this kid who was in Dubai who had managed to get his entire luxury Bentley or whatever the hell the sports car was, completely decaled in the Louis Vuitton Supreme thing.
yeah, I saw
People got tattoos.
This is now the domain of the ultra rich. This is not youth culture as Supreme was founded on.
Yeah, but then you,
And I think this is very dangerous territory for a designer like this to be in a place like Jil Sander.
can I argue here, which is not what I agree with, but people, by the way, this show is really late. It's like half an hour late. So it's like people are still coming in, so it's a bit weird.
late and it's not, the room is not full.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So
I'm very worried
people are
he's
late from a
down.
I'm
previous
going to
show.
keep you much.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I want to say that what I would question in that way, whether you mentioned youth culture, and when people people discuss youth culture and what does it mean. You know, we constantly think of youth culture as what it was 20, 30 years ago as an idea of like
didn't
youth
even
people.
exist 30 years
But you know what I mean? What does it youth culture mean today, and how has that changed? And whether that's something that's even, you know, I agree. I love that idea of those people in like underground and queuing for that one T-shirt or whatever, and having that one, and you couldn't buy it anywhere else. But you know, eBay and all of those things changed youth culture as is. And you know, like kids go and queue, and then literally I see people like
Kids have queued since.
I know, but what they do
94
now,
when Supreme started.
exactly, but they go now, and they instantly, as they go out of the shop, they take photos of the product and sell it right away, and that's how these kids make money. So it's, you know, Supreme has, like, I think Supreme has grown out of its own shell and what it was, thanks to or due to social media. I don't know who wants to say what, but like I think social media kind of killed what Supreme was about. But
Is it Supreme, or is it just the kids growing in their youth culture? They're now coming into their own, knowing like, hold on a second, why am I holding on to this? I can make like loads and loads of money. Like I cast often in those queues for boys who just look really, really great, and they're all there straight away. They've got thousands of bags, and they're like, oh, all of this is for everyone else. And
The point is that the queue is deceptive. The end consumer is the ultra rich.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so when we talk about Supreme as still, you know, embodying something that young people want to buy, I don't buy it. I think it's quite deceptive, actually.
But do you run Supreme
Can
on
we
it?
go back to
Jil.
the theme of the panel?
Oh yeah,
and-
Jil Sander.
And maybe talk about Luke and Lucy in a way. So OAMC, I have really a problem saying this acronym. So it's Luke's brand right now.
It's completely inconsequential in terms of design.
Ralph Simmons.
It's cheap
For
Ralph
Uniqlo.
Simmons, and I think he's probably so excited that he's even being mentioned in the same breath as Ralph Simmons now.
So that's what you think about Luke Meyer. That's your.
I mean, look
Say
at
how you
look
really feel.
Look at OAMC. It's
Don't hold
but
back.
he did a
totally
good job with
inconsequential.
Supreme, so you know.
Well, I mean, it's probably his own business venture that kind of like his own, like exercising his own idea as a creative director, which I don't think at Supreme you can do as much as you can do at a fashion house.
I don't even know if it has a market at all. I mean, it's too early to say, right? Does it sell?
There's four or five pieces in Selfridges. On a rail.
It doesn't have its own online like
I know
selling.
it's
very
very
small.
It's
Places.
gross in there.
Okay, so let's move on to Lucy Meyer,
Who's got to be amazing as a technician. She's been taught by some of the most amazing people.
That's where I wanted to go.
Her technical abilities are...
which I think, you
Dior,
know,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
for Jil Sander can be a plus.
Which could be quite interesting to bring in that couture technician.
She has these, I don't know if it was more her or more Serge. I mean, I don't know them, but her Dior collections were not as bad as the press wanted to say.
No, not at all.
It was
They
after
were
Ralph.
very humble in the sense, like, I know I will never get the job, so I'm not going to make a And they
really
were,
beautiful.
I mean, I think they were pretty good.
Her beautiful
I liked
clothes.
them.
I
And
think
that's
they were
Dior.
really
I mean,
beautiful
they were
clothes.
beautiful.
Yeah.
A lot of the Raf Dior is her, do you know what I mean? A lot
Yeah.
of that collection is her. So that is
with the
her.
rough touch,
And that,
if we may say.
so I think that, you know, her silhouette and everything is going to be that considered, chic, she's good with fabrication.
Do you think that Chic and Jil Sander go well together? I personally think that.
I mean, Ralph kind
that
of
Jil
proved it previously.
Well, exactly.
You know,
I
in
think
a
that Jil
way.
defined chic when you were not even born, in a subtle way.
In a really effortless way, like a gorgeous cashmere jumper or like a really beautiful way that's long-lasting. You know?
row,
People that have got Jil
That's
Sander.
what they say in the news.
What the row aspire to be.
I think what the row is doing now, it's kind of like... I
was going to mention the row.
It does kind of have the same, you know, if we go like base-wise, it has the same colors, it has the same kind of simplistic
But I hope
ideas.
there's a
It's
little
different.
bit more, because I don't dislike the robe, but when I see it in stores, it's like,
Yeah, it's a bit
why does this have to
underwhelming.
cost
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I mean. It's what they aspire to be. They aspire to be as good as Jill.
I love the row, but I think that is very. I do actually love the row, but it's very.
I'm surprised.
It's not me. It's not like me. I just respect it. But it's. I think it hints. I mean, the comparison between the row and what we're talking about now hints at the fact that this is quite a bourgeois client that we're talking about.
but I don't think that's going to be that. Exactly. I don't think.
Okay.
I think the Row is very much Upper East Side, New York,
Or LA
as opposed
girl.
as downtown, you know, or
That wants to be
LA.
that
That would
pretends
like
that
to-
lives on the Upper East Side. Yeah.
Yeah, LA, it's more sportswear, you
Yoga
know, and
pants.
it's
It's the New York girl that moved
New
to
York,
LA.
It's chicer.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that what they're going to do here, it's a little bit more creative. I don't mind the Row at all,
No,
but
I
it's not
agree,
very
yeah.
creative, and I think you don't really need Luke and Lucy to do the Row. Right? And we're in Milan, we're not in America, I don't know. But I welcome chic. You know, sometimes I'm like, why not? It's good to see some chic styling, some simple linear. I loved what Jil Sander was doing and what she was, so I wouldn't be upset if they pay respect.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing of paying respect. I think it should, to some extent. I feel like there is excitement. There has been a lack of kind of really since like I don't think there's Calvin and Raf has been one change has been like successful, but other than that, you know, Dior is being heavily criticized in some ways with Maria Grazia. Like I think people are kind of being very critical of it. And then I feel like there hasn't been a change in terms of creative direction since Gucci and Raf that has been like really successful and kind of took off.
Can I say in terms of, this is another designer who's a real passion of mine, in terms of a new minimalism now is Telfar. Telfar has been designing for over 10 years. And this is the first time he's being recognized by the CFDA, which to me is an absolute tragedy.
It's being nominated, right, for the award? Or?
Correct, yes. Up
they
against
nominated
some
Mark for 10
incredibly, right, well, but up against some incredibly
Commercial.
young brands and some incredibly commercial brands. He's only just being put on Vogue runway. And I think in terms of looking at a new minimalism, someone who's interested in understanding what a polo shirt is and redesigning it, looking at
very good example.
cargo trousers, redesigning it. I mean, we've really lost a sense of what design means these days because we think white t-shirt, minimalism, fine. Actually, you have to really think hard about what does my white t-shirt mean? How am I going to design it? And Telfar is one of the people who absolutely does that, and he's done it consistently for 10 years. And I think if we're going to talk about, you know, what is a new minimalism, that is a really good example.
Sorry, I'm distracted by the fact there was a huge amount of people coming in.
It looks busy now.
There was,
This is
there
promising.
was a show
Where have they
before
come
that was
from?
really late.
So late.
We know it's gonna start.
No, I can see the American, the top editors are coming in now, so probably the previous show was late. So it's not their fault.
Still, it's kind of.
But it's very late.
Will they play
Yes.
it safe and will it all be white? That's what I want.
Will it be worth the wait?
What's interesting, though, is that fashion editors, I suppose, when that movement was around, were not interested.
In Jil
I mean, in
Sander.
Paris, in Com or in Yoji or in the kind of 80s, the new dressing for women at that time, they were not really interested. And I think it's kind of fascinating to see how it's now a name that people really...
You're talking about they were not interested in Jil Sander?
Well, yeah, Jill and the early days.
I feel like it's
Well, I think fashion criticism was a different thing, and it was not. I mean, yeah, I don't remember that it was so important like now. You know, I don't remember having, you know, the columnists that we know now
Right.
in the same way. You know, it was more about commerce, probably. I don't know. I don't remember. Probably I shouldn't say things that might be wrong. But I know that Jill and Miuccia were, and also again Donna Karan in a different way, were the three women that were redefining fashion for women and giving power to women.
I feel like it's also worth to say that this is a brand that has, you know, a beauty line, a perfume line, which is like quite, you know, established in a way. There's Jil Sander's Sun perfume is, I mean, it's, my mom had it like ages ago, and for me it's like synonymous with
Still around?
summer. Yeah, and they've like still, and it's this kind of like, it's the cheapest perfume at a duty-free shop. It's 20 euros or 20 pounds wherever you go. It's a uniform price. It's a white, beautiful bottle with orange, and it smells exactly like sunscreen. Like
reminds you
exactly
of
like
your mom, I
sunscreen.
guess.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's a bit emotional maybe, but they have, you know, they have this thing, and I feel like they've released like like new versions of that perfume recently in March.
Really?
Yeah, so like there was like 3 new versions of the perfume that came out. So I feel like, you know, I feel like they do have potential of creating like a brand out of Jil Sander again, as it was then, and kind of create something that's synonymous with them. But okay, taking away the letters, so it might start.
But before it starts, I must also say that at the time where, you know, the Chanels were inventing cosmetics and inventing, I mean, the Chanel number 5 has been around for 70 past years, but I mean, Jil Sander was very much a ready-to-wear brand.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't an accessory brand, it wasn't a cosmetic brand, so I don't know how much they can lever on that. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Who will make money on that?
Yeah.
And they might, you know, but a fragrance to work needs a brand to be cool. It's a brand to be very much in the radar of coolness, and then the fragrance can be the best in the world. If the brand is not cool, it doesn't.
I mean, you know,
work.
I feel like they might try to create an accessory or something like that in this collection. Whether they will or not, we'll see in like a few minutes.
We'll see.
But like, I feel like there is space because, as I mentioned before, like it's a brand that hasn't been going forward since Raf in a way properly, and it's been always like floating. Yeah, it's gone like backwards or like floating somewhere in space. And I feel like people are ready for like a fresh take on it. They don't have anything, not much to judge on.
We didn't even mention Rodolfo Paglialunga, who's been there for 3 years.
Sorry, Rodolfo.
But exactly, I mean, I don't even remember, but
I just remember
the guy's been there for 3 years, so it means that
Here we go.
it was completely out of the radar because I don't even remember if I liked
There
it.
was a collection that was like huge suits. I remember that. It was all like, it was like really, really huge. And it was just and it was like 2 seasons after Vêtements and Demna did it. So it was like all the reviews were like, I mean, we know that you're referencing Jil, but like it's a bit like kind of too little too late. And hence why this whole thing happened, which is like, I guess, much needed. But I don't know, like whether they were selling or not. I really haven't seen Jil Sander in stores anywhere. No, I know, but like at all. No, I mean at all. I haven't seen Jil Sander in stores, like kind of almost, you know. I've seen it on Ukes.
Yeah, it fell off my radar, definitely. And I think Jil Sander still is a brand that you can buy something from it and you know it's great quality and it's got that beauty to it and that weight. Like someone was saying on the panel the other day, that people wearing expensive clothes, you can tell because they kind of glide in the street. And I think when you're wearing Jil Sander, that's what you definitely do. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like especially a good coat, you can see the difference with Zara. When the way it moves.
I think the first wear. I think Zara looks good on a first wear, and that's like, that's about it. Until like you put it back, it's like the shoulder has changed.
It can look really good, and it looks good, especially.
No, of course, I'm not
I think,
joking.
especially about coats. I think a coat or a jacket has to be cut in a certain way when you move, especially. If you stand still, it's okay.
But also, Jil Sander's a Uniqlo designer or a Uniqlo.
This shirt is a Jil Sander for Uniqlo.
There we go. And,
Very appropriate, Mimma. Very. You thought about
I
this.
didn't. You know, it just came now, but I bought a lot of those shirts, and they were very Jil Sander cut, very beautiful. I was sad when it ended, but she fought again with them, apparently.
She's a heavy. She's a character.
What do you want to say?
No, nothing. No. I was just, I mean, it's just kind of interesting that she's was involved in, you know, very commercial. Well, I suppose Uniqlo at that point was not nearly as big as it is now, but
they call it J+.
Yeah. Yes.
And it lasted a few seasons, while now they do a la H&M.
Now it's
one
Jonathan
season
Anderson's
one capsule.
Oh gosh,
face outside of every store. I don't know who. I'm not going to go into that.
Who bought it? I bought it.
Did you?
Which one? I didn't hear which
J.W.
one.
Anderson. I got the stripe, the color for separate. I thought you have a coat, right? And the trousers.
Is that
Jonathan
Anderson for Uniqlo?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I'm not, like, I wasn't a fan of J.W. Anderson.
What about the
and
Karen
never was,
Royston for Uniqlo? I've never.
I mean, Le Maire for Uniqlo is something that's been going for a while, and it's still, like, really, really successful.
Jill for Uniqlo, went.
Maybe they'll go back.
Bought a lot.
Maybe they'll.
That was the original collaboration. It's like Karl Lagerfeld doing H&M. It's like
Madonna
that was the
doing
beginning.
The original collaboration.
Everybody moves. There's nothing happening. Now it's really weird because everybody sat quietly.
It's going to be a white shirt, isn't it?
Disappointment.
A white shirt dress.
I feel like they're building anticipation now. I'm like, I just.
That's really weird because it's looked like this for a while now. I don't know if we're showing it, but there's a long catwalk with people that look even like they're not talking anymore.
They're like.
Maybe the music has to be really dramatic to cut through this awkwardness.
Maybe there's no music. I love those.
Yeah, I think there's going to be no music. When you can see the
Martin.
clacking of the shoes. Clack, clack,
Hear
clack.
the model
Do
trip.
you think it's going to be trainers or no? That's why I'm like wondering.
Training
there
would be
we
good
go.
to make some money.
Yes.
Nina Simone? No.
Is it? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
What's that?
Nina
It's
Simone.
Nina Simone. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, is that
Why?
white?
Why?
Nailed it.
Andrew,
There's a
one
second
in the back.
one.
Asymmetrical.
That's
It's
for me.
not.
I
It's
love
totally
white.
symmetrical.
Is it going to be
That's-
clinical?
It is.
It's an
Possibly.
asymmetrical.
No, it's fully.
No, it's-
No. It's,
No, it's asymmetrical. Guys, that's
oh, it's a bit
asymmetrical.
avant-garde. It's clinical.
Is there a pocket?
It's all I love, actually. Personally.
Mimma, this is for you.
No, but
This
it's a
collection.
different. There is a difference between judging fashion and what I
White
personally
shirt
like.
Another white shirt and then a white shirt under a
So
black
it's a bit,
suit before,
it's a
after
bit
that.
expected, but
Maybe.
I mean, I'm
Depends on
quite
the
into that as a first look.
Yeah, I still love it.
It's a bit like, I mean, avant-garde is a heavy word, but like more avant-garde than I expected.
Flat shoes.
Bags,
Not a
let's
trainer
say,
yet.
jewelry. You know, I feel like they're going for the
yeah.
What's the
accessory
bag
route.
saying?
There's certainly like, I mean, I remember you mentioned in the press notes, they mentioned spirituality, and there is something monastic, kind of Raf Simons monastic.
There is a little bit
thing
of
about this.
of
kind
Dior
of-
by
Yeah,
I
Lucy
wanted to.
here.
I
There is
just
a little
wanted to
bit of
say
Dior by
the
Lucy
bag.
Mayer. But you know, as I say, you know, designers they move from brand to brand, and then it's still their vision. So
It does have a bit of like a religious cult.
I love the
kind
purity of it.
vibe.
It's
Yeah.
very in tune with the brand. But it's a little bit simple, you know, a guy with a white shirt and
It's Jose. This is one of his favorite models. Jose
the-
Luis at AMCK. I knew he was going to be in it.
Oh yeah, it's
the
Luke,
classic
one of
we've got-
Luke's favorite.
Luke's, yeah.
Oh, really?
What for Supreme and the
No, he had him at AMC and then he
okay.
put him in resort. I was like, Jose's going to come up. He's a great model though.
Oh, I love
It's
her.
very Dior, I must say.
I actually
Very
love this.
Me too, but it's more
I
Dior
really
than Jil
like
Sander.
it.
I feel like it's. I mean,
No, I love it too.
but then,
I think the music is beautiful as well.
yeah, it's cool.
I mean, flip-flops
It's-
is just a bit too
I can't
trendy
do-
for
I
me right
can't-
now.
No, I can't. do-
J.W. Anderson absolutely killed the flip-flop for me. That was the game over for the
last man's
runway
baby.
flip-flop. But
The
it's
jewelry
very
is.
beautiful.
I feel like it's a blend. You know, you can see a bit of maybe don't kill me, Celine in this. There is a sense of like the jewelry. I feel like it's very the architectural thing that Celine, that
Very
Phoebe is
chic.
doing.
There is a lot of her. I think you know, she comes from this chic environment, and that's what it is.
I mean, it's a bit.
It is a more summery version of the Raw.
It is a bit
no
the row. I
cashmere.
have to say, it is
row for
poplin.
men.
It's the cotton poplin for
I
the.
absolutely don't dislike it, but there's nothing. I think it's
Exciting.
Andrea at the beginning was saying different. There's
I like the
nothing
first few
unexpected.
exits, though. I thought they
there's
were
nothing
great.
surprising.
I like the first few looks. I thought they
Yeah.
were interesting.
I really like there's a lot of accessories which I announced. They have like with almost every look they have a bag, and I've seen like almost like 3 or 4 different types of bags. Also every pair of shoes.
That's commercially smart.
Yeah, well that's exactly what I mean. Like Jil Sander hasn't been.
But what is it? I don't see. Is it cotton? Is it? It's cotton, right? Or
It's like cotton to me.
poplin, yeah.
I really like that. So there's a book
You
vibe.
propose-
Yeah, I
Proposals of
saw
Taylor
that.
There's a book
construction.
vibe.
Victorian book clasping.
That's very Jill, that fabrication.
Oh, and
Oh, and they've
branded
blown up the
toe.
logo
Yeah,
on the
I saw
back.
the
Oh
logo.
my
that
god,
flash.
that's a very
That's
supreme.
it.
That's a supreme.
Oh, the
take.
edge.
And it's also, I remember one of my favorite
macrame
Jill.
detailing and embroidered detailing. Can you see?
Ooh.
I think it's on the end of the skirts, like almost like it looks like
I didn't see it.
yeah. Here we go.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I think it's
love
It's not as minimal. I mean, I feel like it's quite detailed. Like
very monastic. I love
It's
it.
very Raf's. I think it was spring, summer 2007 where he did all the robes that came out into a field and there were like dream catchers and long hair.
Jil Sander or
No, Raf.
Raf.
Just Raf. But there's also something about, I don't know, maybe the shoes, maybe the length of the trouser is giving me something about Wales bomber as well. Maybe
Oh, I see that with that last look.
Collar up to the top.
Again, maybe the monastic kind of atmosphere.
The
spiritual,
spiritualism collection of graces.
It's all but sexy, which I sort of like.
Well, that's kind of what Jil Sander, you know, when you think about it, that's in that way.
I mean, I think it's sexy for its class, but it's not sexy
No, not at
in
all.
the real sense of
Even
the word.
Ralph's collection where he had the coats where they were like only holding them, that was quite
I love
sexy.
it.
That was a beautiful
I love
collection.
That gesture was so chic.
That was, yeah, and it was
This is
kind of
sexy. I really
Yeah,
like
this
Yeah,
it.
it
is
is.
sexy.
like,
Yeah.
is it though?
Little Harlequin
Yeah.
sexy, but
Very practical.
Yeah, I love this. I love the
Practical
long
sexy.
skirts coming
There's
out of
not
the
been a single color, like a single color. Like there's only been black, navy,
God,
and
that's
blue.
It might be pastel though, you never know.
No, come
There's
on,
been
don't
2
kill
models
the
of
colors.
colour.
Oh, that's cool. Are you counting? That's good. You have to be.
I think the shoes are fascinating, actually.
Oh, there's a blue dress in the back.
Ooh, yeah.
I like the simplicity of the whole look. It's going to compete with Celine and
Simone
the Rose.
Rocha a little bit, I feel.
I don't think it's in the
Oh, there's your color.
I know. No, it has the bit of like, you know, whimsy and the like the simple
Yeah.
dresses that are like a bit asymmetrical. It reminds me a bit of that. But what did you say?
No, that's
you have
super
the-
bright. It's luminous blue.
This is a bit sexy.
Gorgeous.
That's sexy.
I like
like
it.
that.
So on a
What do you
great
think,
boy.
Andrew? You're very
I like the
quiet. Are you
menswear. I
hating
think the menswear is beautiful. I think the menswear is beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard Finn being so ecstatic about a collection ever in the history
I
of
really
shows.
like
I'm
this.
really pleased that it's
Wow,
really nice as
so
well.
much like Celine, come on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
that
little
is-
bit
that
too
drop
much
was-
Celine,
This
but I
is
really
like
love
this.
it.
And like it has a bit of like these elements, which Georgina here in the studio is wearing exactly the same skirt as this. It looks a bit like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Georgie, your skirt is there.
Her Georgina is on trend.
No, she's avant-garde.
She's in front of trend, yeah.
Gets a bit streety.
Yeah, it is.
is.
There's long sleeves, straight Kanye.
And like a bit of like Louis Strotcher for Joseph. I'm like,
But
don't know.
so what do you expect the press will say about it? I'm not sure it's going to go down very well.
Really? I feel like
think?
it's kind of feeding them with, you know, slight avant-garde, slight kind of something like that's not just simple completely.
That white dress, it's a yes for me. Do you think they're going to praise it?
I feel like it's going to be like a comment of like, oh, I feel like they're going to say, you can see that she worked with Nicolas Gisquier. She did, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
did.
so she
I
did
see
like
more-
that. Like, no, did I just make that up?
But I see
Yeah,
more
so, like,
Ralph Simmons.
I feel
here
like there
than-
is a Nicola, like with those buckled skirts and stuff like that. So I feel
Yeah.
like you can see elements of a lot of
Look at
different
that.
things.
Look at this
beautiful.
white
The menswear
dress.
is really like,
Yeah.
really, really stunning.
I am really loving it.
Joseph and Craig Green. And
Oh, don't say Craig Green.
I'm just like seeing like elements of everything, which is, I guess, good because they're, you know.
Don't be silent, panel. I don't like when
No,
panels are silent.
it's become, yeah.
Yeah, here I see a little bit of Nicolas Gisquier.
You know what I mean? Like there is a bit of that like roughness that he did. It's not as
Yeah, I see what you
casual
mean.
and I feel like, I mean,
I don't know his work enough to see his stake here. Help me out here.
Nicolas.
No, he's
Oh, Luke's.
Luke's.
Definitely in the menswear with those oversized. He loves
Okay.
a good jacket.
Ralph Simmons represent.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, I guess. But I don't see streetwear. I don't see Supreme
And like
as
this
a,
coat is very OAMC.
yeah. I mean,
So
it's
do
like
you
an
think that
anorak.
they take care more him of the man and she of the woman, or is it really possible to work?
I think these hooded anoraks are super expected. It's the kind of like outside of Fashion Week, fashion victim jacket that I see a lot of.
It's the Vetements
Hoods
one without
over
Vetements.
yeah. I think that's where it
That looks like
lets
a-
I
itself
love
down.
this
collection
dress.
of
I mean,
women's.
What did you say, Andrew?
The collared long dress, that's something,
white
that-
dress walking
away.
something she designed for Dior. There was like 3 looks that opened a pre-collection.
like exactly, it's very similar.
But that's her thing, so you
I'm
know.
loving it, and there's a lot of white, so.
I mean, not everything. I feel like it's like
I had decided-
70% of
I
the.
had decided to give up white a little bit, but I think I'm back.
I think, again, everything moving looks beautiful as well.
It's very beautiful, and I love the makeup, the hair, I love everything.
Are we like in love with this? Is everyone loving this? This is shocking.
There are nice elements.
It's a
a
coloured
good
bag.
start.
I feel like there's interest. Yeah, for me, accessories is something
It's
that
more
I wasn't-
memorable than the past 4 or 5 seasons
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Thank God.
But it's also because it has momentum as well. I feel like they fed off it because it's like it feels like a new thing. New for Jil Sander at least.
And yeah, look at the dusty baby blue,
Yeah,
beautiful.
the casting's great.
Yeah, there are echoes of Celine, a lot.
I know, right? And the accessories have like for me accessories
Yeah,
are very
say something.
No, I wanted to hear, because you're a casting director.
That's what I
Let's get your take.
I think the casting's really great. There's 7 POC models, though, and that slightly upsets me.
I can't hear you,
There's
sorry.
only 7 POC models, and there's quite a lot of models in this collection. 'Cause just instinctively, I have that in my head to work out that quota whenever I watch a show. Also, being a person of color myself.
Yeah, of course.
So
It's
Yeah.
it's
This
not
looks like
very
Christopher
diverse.
Kane. I'm
It's
sorry.
not
it's
very
not very
diverse.
diverse. But the models that they have who are POC, they're really great models.
Is this the last look? No.
Whether that's an excuse, I do not.
Actually, it's not diverse at all.
But I mean, is Jil Sander as a brand is what I associate with very pasty white women.
German.
I mean,
Be careful.
yeah, I know this is a very
In that.
tough issue, but I suppose I
That's
don't.
knitwear. I
That's
love
knitted.
that.
It looks like
Sorry,
lace.
I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, that's what I suppose that's just kind of what I expect from Jil Sander.
Rightfully so, or
Yeah,
Or do you
yeah,
think it
but
should be changed?
yeah.
Because here we're really going to get into it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is so the issue right now, and I have very complex opinions about it. But yeah, I think that it shouldn't be forced. I think the diversity issue shouldn't be forced into the hands of people who do not know how to present black people, or who,
Non-white.
for example, Balenciaga, do not know. They don't think that black people are beautiful. The Demna does not
But
think.
that's the issue itself. They need to have
That is the issue, but
black
I
people
think-
at the table, literally like having a seat at the
These
table.
are not
on top
only
of these
white; they're
brands.
very pale. There is a.
That's true, and a lot of
and blonde.
a lot of the black models here are passing. They're mixed, or
There's one.
Uh,
I just think that.
This looks a bit like sorry.
I just think that, for example, forcing it into the hands of somebody like Demna, who really doesn't believe that, becomes very difficult. It's quite dishonest, and I think when you see some of his shows where he's put black people down the runway, it's looked incredibly more racist than admitting that.
Yeah, it looks like he's just
What about
put them in
campaigning?
because he has to
Make
put them in.
people.
Yeah, and he
This
doesn't
is what
know-
I'm saying. This is
Yeah.
why part of the team, they should have people who do know how to dress and
course.
people who do, are black or of color, sorry,
Same.
and care. This is why you need
The
to have
casting director should.
your
probably
team.
have-
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
of
you know.
course.
Casting directors are monsters. No matter what skin everybody is, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's a quote. Here you go, Twitter. Here you go, Twitter. Casting directors
It's just to cut the whole thing
The
through.
way they
But this show
treat.
is going on, and the show.
It's a bit like becoming.
casting
You're a new
part,
breed,
It's really beautiful, though.
It's a bit repetitive, I would say. I mean,
that
it
little
was-
interlude with tricot in color was really knitwear
Yeah,
in
it
color
was
was
beautiful.
really
Harley
beautiful.
Lois, just then.
The mohairs, I love those.
The-
It looks like
beautiful.
mohair.
It does look a bit like
But
white, but like a
it
wide
is
knit.
not only very white; it's very pale, and so it's a strong point of view.
German.
Well, I'm
What
not
a
even
statement
sure it's
to end on a
German.
black coat with a black macrame overlay. It's they've had color and stuff, but they ended up on a coat.
Didn't JW do a lot of these hanging
Yes.
tassel-y things as well?
It also looks a bit like Louise Strother. She did a collection for Joseph a few seasons ago. That was
Styling this show, do you know?
Sarah Richardson.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Famous resort.
back to Nina Simone.
However, if you're going to use Nina
That's
Simone
exactly what I wanted to
as
say.
the
Yeah.
music,
Yes.
then it is very important that you
Yeah.
don't just use that and actually
You're
work
right.
out a way of
Absolutely.
involving.
She would be livid.
Well, exactly, especially someone as like politically charged as Nina Simone.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, in someone's well, exactly. But in someone's hands like Grace Wells Bonner, you really trust the presentation. And I just worry with the conversation about diversity now that it's being put into people's hands that really aren't familiar enough.
But you can feel it. You can
but
feel it
people
when
have to
people
learn
are
it.
forcing it.
Yes,
For me, I don't know
Like
what
you
you
said
think,
with
but
the
I think
gender
it's
issue.
even more offensive
Exactly.
Yeah.
because it's like, what?
But the
Don't do it just to
Yeah.
please.
Like if
Right.
you don't want us, we don't want you either.
yes. But that's what I mean, like, there has to be a way of changing that. We
Yeah.
can't just be like, okay, let's consider them a white house and allow them not to have black people and not judge them at all. I feel like there must be some sort of criticism that will be there constantly that will kind of, you know, make
But that criticism has always ended. I mean, I'm going back to Demna again as an
Yeah,
example.
no, but that's not, yeah.
That criticism has always ended as soon as there is a face on the runway, and I think that's really
That's-
where the
well,
conversation
that's not really-
is. It
Exactly.
doesn't really get to the
It's not about
core of the
numbers.
issue.
It's not about like, if you open a show with a black model, that means you're fine. Like, you're off the hook. Like, absolutely agreed with
It's almost like the Vogue photo, you know, of them all on the top of the office and all of the staff were white. It's like you may have had black
That
covers, but
Naomi
the
Campbell,
problem is still
that
in
Naomi
it.
Campbell pose.
You know?
Yeah.
But you know, like Phoebe Philo showed women, they look like this.
That's
Very
exactly,
natural makeup, very pale, very blonde, very, you know, and that's what she looks like.
Yeah, and again, it's about, I mean, like you said, if you don't want us, we don't want you. Is the Celine custom, is she really going after that customer? Is she talking to black women? Does she even understand?
I don't
You
think
know,
so.
it's
But
not.
then that's a problem that she's not, I believe, because to just assume that your customer is just a white
Everybody.
demographic, that's
Yeah.
and that the only people with money would
mean,
be
but
the
that
white
goes
people
with
in the shops.
beauty
That's
and-
again being racist.
That goes with the beauty industry, like even further, and like a
Yeah.
lot. Like I think it's kind of a more of a social aspect that is just fashion is one of the parts of it. It's like such a more bigger, like the kind of only looking at white people as your like, you know, the kind of ideal family of like a straight man, a straight woman, and 2 children. One is male, one is female, and that's kind of the idea of any sort of marketing, whether we look at and like kind of.
Really?
And it's kind of how you know, like how the basis of marketing is.
So sad.
with outside, like food. I'm not talking about just about fashion. I'm talking about, you know, food.
Your happy family.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like it's always that.
By the
and
way, my
it's-
family is there.
I know. Well, congratulations
brother,
on you.
Not mine.
Oh,
my,
okay.
But again, like you expect, you
okay.
kind of just, I mean, I always just kind of expect that from fashion. I kind of expect it from a brand like Celine or a brand like Vetements. And where I most enjoy fashion is at, you know, around designers like Telfar or designers like Shane Oliver, who I'm very keen on supporting. But those are the kinds of designers who do present new voices, who do know how to cast effectively for their client. And
But it's also ingrained in them to do so because of
yeah,
Because they're not.
backgrounds, because
Yeah.
then, you know.
But that's just, yeah.
Can we acknowledge this finale and say probably 2 words about the collection? So we're positive.
Look,
Good luck. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Can you define your good luck? You think it's not going to sell, to be commercial?
I think they're just up against too much. I think
They just-
they're up against too much in fashion. Do you know what I mean?
But no matter what they do, or
No matter what they will do, I think, you know, they're owned by hedge funders. Do you know what I mean? That want instant money. They want results. They need a sneaker and a logo. They need people through those doors.
they've got the logo on the leather bag.
Yeah, the clutch had
Big.
Jil
I really wanna
Sander
see that
and
yeah,
up.
but
Boston
this is
in
not
it.
a very low-good collection. We recognize it because we know what we're talking about, but in the street,
Yeah, it's not going to
it's a
become.
white shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The opening looks were interesting. They were nice. They're going to be great for editorials. For the client base, there's some great tailoring. I think they've done a good job. It's a difficult thing. It's about how the press are going to perceive it now. Do you know
I feel like it's.
here they come.
There we go. Yay! Congratulations.
Oh, holding hands.
Oh, standing ovation.
What did they call
yeah.
themselves? The Mayas.
The Maya.
It's not them. It's
Get
the
over
PR
it.
person who called them the Maya.
Oh, what a long bow also.
Look at
wearing
them.
a
They're
trainer?
wearing matching clothes. Cute. Oh, his and hers.
Run.
They didn't, everyone else is running.
I feel like, yeah, well,
Well,
they're probably
so-
late for the next show, so.
So yeah, it's 7 o'clock in Milan, and it's, you know, they're probably, I don't know if they have shows now, but maybe, whatever. So I think for me, the thing is that there was nothing unexpected, which is a tiny bit disappointing.
Yeah.
I was expecting a little bit more of unexpected, but aesthetically speaking, it talks to me a lot, but I'm not the coolest person sitting here, so...
No, but you're a great customer.
Yeah, and a great dresser. You're a great customer and a great dresser.
Well,
I mean, you've got that look, kind of, you know,
Let's
in
not
a
talk about
way.
it, let's talk
No,
about
but I mean, you know,
collection.
that's part of the question of like, who is this? Who are these people? I feel like these people that are going to buy this, and I'm interested to, for example,
women in their 50s.
yeah, like women in their 30s, 40s, 50s that are interested in fashion. I don't think this is a mass product. I don't think this is Gigi Hadid, Kendall Jenner thing at all. You know what I mean? And I don't
Would you ever want it
think
to
I don't
be?
mind. No. That's not a bad thing. Absolutely not a
It's
bad
great.
thing.
I'm glad that celebrities won't be requesting that for red carpet.
That's
There was not a single record.
no. There was like those.
Which is great, so they're not chasing red carpet.
But
I
what does that
think-
mean? You
But
know?
I think that showing up at the Oscars with a black coat and a white thing
Julia Roberts, Meryl
underneath,
Streep.
I would do it,
would
and
do
I
that.
think it would be probably
Yeah,
the
no,
shittiest
amazing,
look.
amazing.
Better than, you know.
But
what
that's
we
the
see
thing,
there.
like that's what maybe not, I don't think Hollywood stylists
No,
agree.
understand.
But like what I really think is that this is, for me, it really does have, like, I don't know, I know I'm repeating myself and no one seems to acknowledge it, but Louise Strother for Joseph and what she does for their runway, for their catwalk collections is something very similar to this kind of story, this mixture of men's and women's, this kind of introduction of classics and something interesting in terms of fabrications. She had a collection, I think 2 or 3 seasons ago during women's wear that had
We're
this
on a Joseph
macrame
panel.
details.
We're on a Joseph panel.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, no. It just feels like it really reminds me of that collection. And what I really want to say is I'm really interested in what is going to go into like the commercial aspect, because for Joseph, none of the catwalk goes into production.
These can all be.
And
These will all be
that
produced.
knitwear and stuff like that. I'm really interested whether that's actually going to be
I
produced.
hope, because otherwise it's white shirt,
the
and then you go to
macrame.
COS.
Exactly.
and
That's
you-
exactly what I
the
mean.
look,
No,
and
that's
it is
exactly what I
basic.
mean.
That's what my problem is a little bit, because they're so good. The high street are now defining themselves like COS is, you know, the Celine and the now we can say Jil Sander, and then such and such is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to be very careful, because if you can find the same white shirt that it's not cut precisely like that, but cost £60 instead of 600, then you have to be very careful.
The macrame like things which made like a lot of the looks were, you know, elevated
I
by
couldn't
it.
see it. That's
And
what
you know, and I'm thinking like, what is that going to be in the store or like in Selfridges, or you know, like how is that gonna sell, and what is that gonna sell as? Because that doesn't really have net-a-porter appeal, you know, that macrame object. I feel accessories are really strong, which I maybe didn't expect as much.
Do we have details of the accessories? Is that
I do want to
I
possible
think
to see them?
jewelry is like really, jewelry is really interesting. The earrings, the bags, the flat shoes, not the sandals. I agree. I'm like over
the square toes are great.
that one.
Very
Yeah,
good,
exactly.
yeah. The leather
So,
square toes.
The row and yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's the territory.
that's fine, that's fine.
But that's
I'm not
also
bad at
COS
things,
territory. I mean,
Yeah.
But also, Jil Sander is a bit dull in general. I mean, it's deliberately a bit dull.
Intellectual, maybe.
I mean, people use the word intellectual. I might use the word dull. I mean, it's kind of deliberately a bit, you know. You can use the word simplicity or understated or whatever. I mean, but again, it's not. I mean, that's the kind of world we're playing around with.
there's no detailing photos
It's pretty.
of the
I
accessories.
feel like it's
No,
pretty.
okay.
The word is like pretty for me. Like it's not groundbreaking, you know.
Yeah, it's not groundbreaking. It's
familiar.
It's
To some
exactly
extent.
what I've expected.
Yeah.
Again, you know, but is that bad? I don't know. So shall we close like this?
Sounds
Thank
good.
you, panel.
Should we clap for
soon.
them?